So, I mean, would you say that the kids, have they been any, have they written any of the books themselves or any of the stories themselves?
No, but I watch them like hawks, and then something comes, I'm like,
ooh, interesting.
But really the first one, I say he, I'm pointing as in my son is walking past. He was pivotal to the first one because that was literally based on a conversation we had. And any story, I've written 13, published 3 from the series, and published 1 for the baby books. Those are the hard books. And any of those stories is literally, they're the genesis of it. It's something that they've done that sparked the story, or just something I just think is hilarious that they've done. But I also look back to my own childhood, and because I'm writing from a child's perspective, and think about, okay, what are those things that even stand out? What are those things that were funny or sad or emotive that we can bring into the stories, or how my parents are a bit weird, and we have some funny stories, and literally just take it from our lives to make something that hopefully will kind of touch children and encourage them to read and get involved in storytelling.
Yeah, that's cool. So I'm guessing you homeschool the kids.
I did for a year. They're not homeschooled anymore. Oh, okay. So during the lockdown, after a little time of virtual schooling, which could have worked for my son, I just didn't really see the value because I was still having to do a lot of work. And for my daughter, the virtual just doesn't work. Although she does French classes virtually 3 days a week, and that works really well for her because it's 30 minutes each class. She can do that. But yeah, it wasn't working. So literally till February this year, I was homeschooling them, and then they started school after that, which was great.
How skeptical were you for your daughter, most especially?
This one, she's a terror. She's an admiral. She's strong. She's strong-minded. She's strong-willed. Not only physically, mentally, she's a strong child. So for me, if she was ready, she's ready. Like she's not gonna hint. She's gonna tell you, "I'm ready." School. When you hear that a few times, you're like, "Okay, you want to go back to school?" Yes. But of course you worry because she has a heart condition. I mean, her heart is functioning normally now. When she was younger, she had open heart surgery, and it took her almost 3 years to recover.
Wow.
Yeah, but her heart is functioning normally now. She's strong. We have a flexibility and mobility coach for both of them because she physically is extraordinary. She's strong and extremely flexible. So I want to start kind of honing those skills to see if there's anything in terms of physical sports, Special Olympics, all those things. So I have to start training now. And my son is very intelligent and he's into sports as well. So the two of them do it together. So my concerns weren't really about COVID and sending them back because she's good. My concern really was, can her needs be met?
So what were those, unsolicited advices that you got that you were like, God?
Well, to begin with, you get things like, oh, what did you do when you were pregnant? Like, so to begin with, the reason why did you go out of the house at a certain time? Did you touch? No, I'm joking. I'm not joking. Did you touch a certain tree?
Oh wow.
Did you have an affair? All those kind of things. I'm telling you. But really, the ones that come after, you hear things like, oh, you need to go to the church, see the pastor, to do fasting, and the baby should fast too. Yeah, to remove it. And I try to explain to people, it's not a disease.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a disorder. So you can't cure it. There's no cure. But we're okay with that. We made our peace with God, and in fact, it's a blessing. I'm trying to explain to people, you don't have to do that. So you get things like, what else? Oh, that's if you take particular medicine, or do your agbo a certain way. All kinds of stuff.
The closer family, how did they take it initially? Were they,
I'm so happy to say that my story is probably unlike most people. Is that both sides of the family have been completely supportive. Because you hear a lot of stories, and in fact I know a lot of stories where the opposite is true. So we've really been blessed financially by support from family members, emotionally supportive and physically supportive.
Wow, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about growing up.
Growing up, I was here till 6 and then I went to boarding school from 6 to 18 in the UK. 3 different boarding schools. No, I didn't get expelled.
I was about to say.
No, that's always the question. No. But my parents were always here, and but my parents divorced when we were 10, separated. So we grew up with our dad. But it's always been, I've always been an outsider, both at home and abroad. At home, because I don't look like people here. So even my first memories from like 4 years old, you know, from where I started to see that people would stare, look at me funny. You know, Oyibo all the time. Like, where are you from? And just starting to kind of internalize those things and not understand why, because I'm Nigerian and both my parents are Nigerian. So why am I not considered a Nigerian? Later on, came to understand that my dad was mixed, that we're also Lebanese, but still, like, he's a proper Ijo man and speaks like so many Nigerian languages. And then going abroad, right? So you come home, it's that experience, right? And then you go abroad, you're still an outsider because you're black, you're a foreigner, and most places I was the only black girl or one of the few just black people in the boarding school. You know, boarding school 500, 600, maybe, you know, maybe 5 are black or something like that. Exactly. But that would be the only girl. So that's the feeling of always being an outsider and never being at peace. Even today, I can tell you, if I go out during the week, right, I don't go out much, but when I do, without fail, somebody will ask me where I'm from.
So what would you tell your 5-year-old self?
My 5-year-old self was enjoying. I don't know what I'll tell my 5-year-old self, to be honest. When I think back at 5.
Okay, 10-year-old self.
I would say probably my 15-year-old self. Yes, I would say to my 15-year-old self, Tonye, just be consistent, focus. You know, don't worry about what others think about you, and just, you know, focus on what you're doing. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep going, keep pushing, and be serious. No. Don't party so much.
Oh, really? What would you classify as the most difficult decision you've had to make, you know, being a special needs mom?
I would probably say, actually in the hospital, refusing a particular medication for my daughter because it almost killed her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that, you know, and...
Was that like a mother's instinct situation?
Yeah. So I just had to be firm, because sometimes medical doctors are very knowledgeable, but they're human beings, and sometimes we rely too much on them and don't actually listen to our instincts. So it's understanding we actually should listen to our instincts, and with knowledge combine the two. And you have to put your foot down sometimes to authority and tell them no.